David here, lovely Freedom. On my way back from London, central London, just been to Hyde Park with this gentleman here.
Hi.
Hello. This is Mark here, who...
Hello everyone.
Yes, good to see you, Mark. Good to see you.
Dave.
Basically, Mark runs men's groups. Are we allowed to?
Yes.
He runs men's groups in
Child Okeford.
Child Okeford. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank
Yep.
you. Once a month. Very worth checking out, guys, if you want an alternative perspective on the world and you want to connect with your inner masculine. This is the man to speak to. Lovely guy.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Pleasure, Mark. Thank you. Really lovely guy, and just going to kind of find out how he's found today for a start. It's been an interesting day, hasn't it, Mark?
It's been a very interesting day. I'm quite happy to be very direct and honest. Dave and I, before we got on the coach, were sharing how this is a time where it's paramount we all speak our truth. And speaking our truth sometimes is very uncomfortable. And today I have felt physical discomfort in my body and vibrational discomfort. But that has been my truth. And what I want to share with everybody, and please take this as you find it, because this is my personal experience, and if there's something that resonates for you, then that's great. But just because I experience what I do doesn't mean to say it's someone else's truth. Anyway, I came up to London with Dave and Ed from Yeovil to go to the Resurrection Freedom movement march in London, and coming up on the coach from Yeovil was fine. We got to Hammersmith, and it's like then my body was saying, don't want to be here. Not to put too fine a point in it, I had some bowel movements that proved to be a bit uncomfortable, and this is very much, for me, an experience where my body is definitely saying from a vibrational point of view, and those of you into meditation and follow anything like astrology, Pam Gregory for example, and anyone who's interested in their own inner man, put it that way, and inner feminine as well. Anyone interested in doing a deep dive into what makes us tick will understand where I'm coming from. And there's no doubt about it. My body was saying, you're not doing this. And Dave and Ed were brilliant. They supported me, and after I'd found a toilet in Hyde Park, I parked myself on the grass and said to the guys, you go off and do what you need to do, because I can't go anywhere for the moment. I've just got to stay here and let my body rest, which is what I did. And what you'll probably observe in the way that I'm speaking and looking at me on camera is like, well, there's anything wrong with the guy, and absolutely at the moment you're right, there isn't. My body feels good now. We've come out of London, we're on the M25, and there's no doubt about it, my own journey, vibrationally and spiritually, consciousness is really what I'm talking about actually. I would talk about all these things are about consciousness, loving consciousness, divine consciousness even. And that my body has clearly said to me today, and that's the whole reason I came, I suspect, that at one time to come up to London, go to a protest, I could handle it. But I can't now. The vibration in London, the amount of angry energy there is, the two worlds that exist is just too much for my body now. It's like I need to be doing different things and working to bring the change about that we're all passionate about. I need to do it in ways that are not being part of a protest group marching through London, or probably anywhere else come to that. And it's been a painful journey, but I actually do feel a lot more comfortable, and my bodily symptoms are diminishing with every sort of turn of the coach wheel, so to speak, literally. So I want to share that with everybody and put out there that there is at this time an awful lot of intense pressure coming down on all of us from the regime, as Dave would say, from the beings. And we know these psychopaths don't give a fuck, excuse the language, but they don't. They do not care about us. And that's not going to change. So we are in this war, and right now we have to hold our nerve to keep our own vibrations high. And I would urge everybody to avoid anything that messes with your own personal vibration and puts your body in a place that you are not comfortable with, because it's not going to serve. It will drain your energy, it will take your focus away from where you need to be, and that's what the beings want. They want you distracted, they want you not able to function, they don't want you to do what you are here to do. So that would be different for everybody. It's not going to be the same for everybody. My experience is mine, and anybody listening to this, you'll have your own experience and it'll be unique to you. And that's the way it should be. There's no right and wrong in this, there's no polarity. Those are the things we're moving away from. So, however this comes across, I hope it comes across in a way it's intended, with a great deal of love and compassion for all of us who are doing what we are doing to bring this change about. And I wish you all well. From my heart, God bless.
Thank you. And it's, I was going to say also, Mark, I mean, it says a lot about Mark's character, very selfless character, because Mark was thinking about me and Ed, even during his time of need. He's physically not feeling great today, but he still wanted us to go and be with the protest, be with the demonstration, which says a lot really. He said, I'll kind of sit down, I'll lie down here and you come back later. Which was a really kind thing to do, So we did kind of be part of the demonstration for a while, and I met up with some of my lovely Sovereign Freedom friends from over the last 3 years, and they know who they are. 4 years, in fact. I haven't said that. Mark, I was going to say also, yes. You rightly said about the energy.
Yes.
And I too noticed that real shift in the energy, because Mark here comes from Dorset, just travelled from a quiet little Dorset. Lovely Child Okeford, if you don't know it. Not many of you probably won't. It's a lovely part of the world. Did you notice there was this shift in the energy on as we entered London, or was it more when you kind of got off the coach and something's like, whoa? Did it kind of hit you like that?
Yeah, I noticed it in my body. I certainly noticed something happening in my body when we arrived in Hammersmith. And I think the sensitivity that I have now, I was picking up on that from the moment we probably got on the M25, to be honest. What I noticed very, very clearly, where I was sitting on a park bench in Hyde Park, I could hear the protests supporting the Palestinians in Gaza going very loud. And I had a bodily response to that at one point, and again, people who are sensitive in this way with how their bodies work and how energy works will resonate with what I'm saying. That I could feel my body, if I was to say energy was moving, it was like tingling, feeling a bit cold, some other symptoms as well. And what I was what I was aware of, because I wasn't resonating with it, because I didn't want to be part of it, but what I was aware of was that from that protest about what's happening in Gaza, an awful lot of anger, very, very strong vibration of anger. And I'm not saying that's wrong or it's right, it's merely an observation. And the observation I had in my body was that's not a place that's good for me to be in. At one time it would have been different, but what I was picking up on was no. If I'm going to help that situation, it's not going to be by being part of a march and having to work really hard to keep other people's anger out of my own field, literally out of my body. So yeah, I agree with you, Dave. I think it's not an exaggeration to say that the energy in London right now is toxic. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think it is toxic. And it's also probably, I don't know if I can say this is true. My observation is, though, that there are a lot of people walking around in London who are intelligent, well-intentioned, caring, loving people who are clueless to what toxicity they're actually living in. And that's of great concern, because on so many different fronts, but particularly for their own personal health and well-being, that won't be good. So yeah, definitely Dave, I did sense that too.
Okay, so I was just telling Mark about my experience, how I used to be on a lot of these anti-war demos when I was younger, and I used to march with groups like the Socialist Workers, and we used to carry generic placards just like they do nowadays, which have got no personality, behind them. But also, I find a lot of these groups, Mark, I don't know if you find it yourself, a lot of them are actually funded by the same beings ultimately.
Yes.
Do you find a lot of these things are part of the divide and rule mentality, to divide one group against the other?
I think that's extremely likely. I can't prove it, and I'm sure there are people out there that if they wanted to know what to do to prove that, because you can follow the money and you follow links, different personalities that show up in these things. But yeah, David's absolutely right. The divide and rule strategy has been used for thousands of years, and I'm absolutely certain that what the regime wants at the moment, that what the beings want, is to keep us distracted.
So, talking to Mark about his men's group, could you say a bit more about your men's group, Mark, to the audience?
Yes, we're very happy to do that, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the men's group is something I started as a consequence of the lockdowns and that regime pushed down on our rights and freedoms. I attended protests during 2020, like a lot of people, and on one of the drives back on the coach from a protest, I heard this conversation between two guys who were talking in a very animated way, clearly very stirred up by what we witnessed on the protest, and the need to be doing something about it. And they were talking in terms of structure, and when I say structure, I mean assemblies, organising, that paradigm. And what struck me at the time was that something was saying to me, and again, those of you listening to this who meditate and do vibrational work will get what I'm talking about, because it was a felt sense of something, was that they were missing something. They were missing a trick. And my sense of it was they were doing things back to front. But even then, back in 2020, I was clear in my own sense of things that we were at the beginning, if you like, of a process where there was going to be huge change, regardless of what the paradigm at the time, the regime, as Dave first of them, the beings, regardless of what they thought was going to happen, there was something else happening which was far bigger than what they were planning. And this involved a major shift for every man and woman on the planet to be prepared to really have a good look at their masculinity and femininity from a spiritual, vibrational point of view, to do a deep dive into why they do what they do, think what they think, behave the way they behave, which is something we all need to be doing at this time, I passionately believe. So I heard this conversation happening, and when I tried to share that maybe actually there was something else that needed to happen first, they didn't get it. I can remember them looking at me quite blankly, and that sort of puzzlement, that look of bewilderment on their faces about what is this guy talking about, we could organise. But interestingly, there was a woman on the coach also who had just witnessed one of these horrendous scenes of seeing another woman, a young woman, being bundled into the back of a police van, having just been arrested by, a crowd of coppers. And she was protesting and trying to resist, but they weren't having it. This woman said she just saw her being manhandled. Very distressing to witness, and of course a lot of that was going on in 2020, and subsequently, of course. And this older woman who witnessed this, she was very upset. But she understood what I was saying. And I think that was her feminine, her divine feminine, understanding that what she was hearing being said from a man was that there was a need for men to start reconnecting with their own feminine. If they were going to step up as men and do what we need to do as men, we need to connect with our own feminine and sort out the mess that is the patriarchy. And that's our job to do. So that was my motivation for doing something, and I started a men's group in 2021. And the way it works is that it's about sharing in a safe environment with other men, if they wish to share feelings, emotions, experiences that take us deep into ourselves, where we look at ourselves, our inner being, if you like. The way it works is that because meetings are held in my home, I basically would get to make the rules, which might sound a bit autocratic, but it isn't, because the most fundamental basic rule is that people show each other respect, and that's manifested by respectful listening. So when someone is speaking, no one else is able to talk over them, and I use a talking stick to that purpose. So when a man wants to speak in the group, he holds the talking stick and holds it until he's finished. And if he doesn't want anybody else to make a comment on what he's said, then it's perfectly okay for him to say that he would prefer people just to witness what he said without making a comment on it. And that is respected. So it's about respect, it's about listening, it's about being willing to see the vulnerability in another man if he's willing to share that and show it. So that's basically, Dave, the ethos behind what I do and why I do it.
That's great. Okay, thank you very much, Mark. And also, I was going to say, in terms of, I know there's like different definitions. One of them is toxic masculinity, where men have been perceived by the beings and the media, corrupt media, as perpetrators of violence and misogynists and all sorts of nastiness. Do you think there is such thing as toxic masculinity, or do you think it's something which has been put out there to drive men and women apart and make people more fearful of men?
I personally feel with that it's a very complex question, and there's a lot of different threads to it, and I don't think there is a simple, straightforward answer. So my own personal view would be that the patriarchy operates from a toxic paradigm in the first place. And when I say a toxic paradigm, what I mean is that men, through their conditioning, from the moment they come into this world as a baby, and we see this play out over hundreds and thousands of years in cultures, particularly in the West, men are not encouraged to show vulnerability. They're not encouraged to share feelings and emotions. Just think of sayings like, grown men don't cry, stiff upper lip. They're all designed to shut down those vulnerable feelings that a man can have, and to disassociate himself from that part of who he is, which is the divine feminine part, which is a valid, absolute key part of who he is, which needs to be witnessed and integrated, the same as divine masculine. You have to have both, and they have to be in balance and harmony. And if it is being manipulated and twisted to be something else, and that is toxic. So without doubt, it shows up as toxicity. So that's where I would be on that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, great answer there, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in terms of your men's groups, how can people get in touch with you? Is there a certain way people can get in touch with you? Any kind of...
Well, if anyone listening to this would like to find out more, I'm happy for Dave to share my contact telephone numbers and my email address. And I would very much welcome any contact. I'd be very happy to share what I do with anybody, and I'd be happy to meet up with anybody one-to-one who wanted an initial meeting maybe before coming along to a regular meeting. I'm very happy to do that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much. That was Mark doing the men's groups for Stand in the Park. And yeah, thank you very much. And do get in touch if you want more details. So, wish you all well, love and freedom to you all. Thanks for watching.